So we are going to start by introducing ourselves a little bit, and then we'll introduce the topic for today. So I am Yi-Chen. I work for Capital One. I am Divisional Data Officer for our credit card division, and you'll hear a little bit more about Capital One story, car story, and my story as we talk through. Here.
Hi everyone, Raghu Valluri. I work with Yi-Chen in card data on the technology side. I hope everyone's having a great conference. Nice to see you all, especially the Capital One folks here. Thank you. All right, back to you.
All right. So for our talk, we are going to start with the Capital One introduction, and then I'll talk a little bit more about our specific use case, and Raghu will help us see how we try it out, solve it, and we'll take questions from the audience. Capital One is a bank built like a tech company with the mission to change banking for good. And there's a lot of information about Capital One you probably can find on the website already. We are a company of 30 years old, still founder-led by Rich Fairbank, one of the largest direct bank and largest credit card company already. There is so much more to be proud of for working for Capital One, but the thing that made Capital One really special for me is really two things. One is people, two is culture. People side, everyone is super smart, driven, work hard, and collaboration that makes this company really fulfilling to work for. Every morning I wake up knowing I'll be challenged, I'll be happy, I'll learn something new every day. And the culture speaks to the founder-led part, which you will start to hear more from our tech journey. Rich is very innovative and very bold in driving transformational agenda. And it is the strategy that we would go all in for the entire company. So usually there is a sense of community for us to learn and deliver together. And that is part of the culture that is key for Capital One's success. And with that, I think the Capital One's offer of all the services we have, I think the ones most people are familiar about are probably credit card, rewards, banking, auto loan. But in the Databricks conference, hopefully you also pick up things like software. There are other things we are trying to explore more that is also part of the Capital One umbrella now. Our tech journey. When we say we're a bank, we're a tech company like a bank, this is what we meant. We have gone through many major transformations from the modernization of architecture, modernization of our platform, technology, and data ecosystem. We go all into the cloud, so all our data and infrastructure are all moved to cloud. And of course now is our journey to continue using more AI and machine learning at scale for Capital One. And this speaks to the entire Capital One company for card, but for every product that we offer as well, through people, through culture, and through the product we offer to our customers. Within that, this is where Raghu and I sit. Within Capital One, we lead the data organization within credit card division. And our mission have really been driving personalization results and impact through trusted data and insight. Like we have heard almost every session through the Databricks conferences is how do we integrate all the data together, get the insight that's most meaningful for the human being that we are providing servicing to, and offer that at the moment that matters. So that is our mission. And today we will be sharing one specific example through our credit line increase program. So throughout the presentation, you'll hear the word CLIP. Basically, that is our credit line increase program. CLIP is part of our line management program. And what does that mean? So I'll use myself as an example. I'm an immigrant. I came to the United States when I was a student. So I got my first credit card. When I was a student, made zero income, had no credit history. So in our language, I was part of new to credit program. So as you can imagine, once I graduated, fortunately, I got a job, and I moved, and then I got married, and then I have kids. And throughout the life cycle, my need for credit changes over time. And my authorized user, my surrounding, my families, our needs changes over time. So line management is a concept. Basically, you want to make sure we offer the credit line for the customer at the stage that they need it, at the moment that matters to you, but also make sure you can responsibly manage your finance. And Capital One has taken the approach that is very much data and insight driven. We would take all the data we know, internally, externally, and landed on the decision for a clip, which often are initiated either proactively by Capital One or reactively by the customer's request. But no matter how this is initiated, the heart of the data and insight-driven approach has been very consistent to get to the outcome where we can balance all the information for the decision. So what data do we use in such important decision for US card? We use a lot of information we can access and bring them together, and this is the high-level view. Started with the consumer behavior. For example, the spending behavior. Do you always spend up to 100% of your credit limit? Do you spend way less or actually above? What is the payment pattern? Do people always pay on time? Are you always late? Do you pay in full? So that's part of the customer behavior that is super critical for decisions like this. We also look into credit bureau data as part of credit worthiness. So that is a very rich external data sources we will ingest into Capital One as your credit worthiness information. FICO score is another good example for that. We use those information to build internal risk data. So we have proprietary risk model along with the data sources we use. And then last but not least, microeconomic data for the bigger trend. What are our competitors doing? What's the unemployment rate? What is going on in the industry now? Now, as you look at those categories, just think about the need that we have to bring all of them together, find a way to stitch them, ensure the quality, and make sure it's well managed, and the consumable format is basically the biggest problem that we're trying to solve for our CLIP program. How do we use this data to get to the final decision point? We use the well-managed and integrated data for CLIP in 3 primary usages. One is analysis and monitoring. Before we can land on a decision, we have to analyze the data deeply about a customer, about the trend, and help us understand the impact of potential changes in the data. Then we build models. And to be able to build model, we need historical data. Usually that means years, decades of data that we can get for the customers, for the macroeconomics, and bring them all together. Last but not least is the operational data that we use in decisioning. So as you can see now, we have multiple categories of data domain we're trying to bring together. We need analytical data with very rich history, and we need the same quality of operational data that is consistent for us to make aligned decisions for our customers. And this is part of the CLIP program that we have used for this use case. How do we solve it? Fortunately, because this is so hard, fortunately we have great leaders like Raghu and his team. So I'm going to hand over to Raghu to talk about how we have tried.
Thank you, Yi-Chen. So before I dive into the tech behind our line increase program, by way of show of hands, how many of you have a Capital One card? And, oh, that's a good number of people. And how many of you have mysteriously, magically seen your credit line increase ever? Oh, cool. So I'll unveil the magic behind that. So I'll dig into the tech that drives that, and it involves petabytes of data, trillions of records. So here we go. So essentially what it is at the heart of all of this is what we call a CLIP feature hub. It's that second box from the left there. And what it is essentially a central library for decisioning and fulfillment of these credit line increases. It contains a bunch of curated information about customer accounts. Yi-Chen mentioned customer behavior, transactions, et cetera, and we go back a long, long time in history to do all of that crunching, all the way back to 2005, 2006, and you'll see in a little bit how much data that involves. And basically building this library takes 3 important steps. Step 1 is bringing all of this data from a whole bunch of different sources and standardizing that data from all of these sources. Then you do the actual crunching and calculating features, and each one of these features is calculated based on a bunch of business rules, very complex business rules. And then we create a 360-degree view of each of those accounts, which are millions of accounts, for the various use cases that Yi-Chen described. So that essentially at a high level is this whole flow, and a bunch of the crunching happens to create that clip feature hub, which I'll get into. So two main things in that clip feature hub is what's going on. To the left, we call it what is called the backfill feature compute and publication. So that is basically calculating a whole bunch of historical features and storing them in our data lake. And then we also have an operational feature compute and publication, which is current, which is daily feature updates, which is being crunched, calculated every day, and that is also stored in our data lake. So the calculation of the historical features is super complex because just of the sheer volume of data is massive. There's billions of records, like I said, and literally petabytes of data, so it's massive. And daily updates are equally complicated and equally complex. They use pretty complex business rules and complex calculations across 160 features. So that's the volume we're talking about. So essentially, huge volumes of data, massive amount of history going back all the way to 2005, 2006, and it's a big endeavor. So what I'm going to talk about next is how Databricks compute gave us a big lift in this space. We were struggling with our incumbent compute options, which were timing out. They were like literally combusting, and they couldn't do what we wanted them to do, wanted to do. So we ran Clip Feature Hub Compute on Photon, the Databricks processing engine. To the left these are the two graphs of our results we saw, both from a cost and a performance standpoint. So massive decrease in time and cost per job, 80%, with Databricks completing jobs about 60 times faster. So huge, massive lift. We were like literally blown away by what we were able to do. And because we are able to do this, it's going to unlock like new insights for our business once this is fully being utilized. And we just got this into production, so we'll see a lot of value generated out of this capability, is our hope. So anyway, this was like a key win for us in terms of being able to compute these many features across that volume of data for so many years. So the team that did it is right here, by the way. So awesome job. So yeah, with that, just some numbers. We built a Databricks pipeline to calculate, like I said, 160 features. On average, about 10 years worth of data for each of these 160 features was the setup. It involved, this runtime on Databricks took about 2,000 hours, which is a lot of time. So we're writing approximately 7.5 billion records, yeah, B with a billion with a B, across 160 features every day to our data lake, which translates to roughly 30 to 40 terabytes of data, using an average length of average column size about 100. And 15 features going back to 2012 is around 6 trillion records. So just gives you a sense for the scale and the amount of data we were dealing with. All right, so as we were doing this proof of concept, which took us a while because we work with our enterprise partners to make these capabilities available to the lines of business we sit in card. So we had to wait, but as we were doing all of this, clearly the business was moving. There was business intent continued to grow. There was a lot of independent data pipelines sprouting all over the place. So what we want to move to our future destination is basically collapse all of these pipelines, go from redundant tooling to more standardized tooling across the enterprise, across our lines of businesses. And when we have all of these bespoke pipelines, you don't get consistent governance across all of those pipelines. So you want to move to more consistent governance and monitoring, enterprise grade. And then lastly, the experiences are all fragmented. So we want to consolidate all of that, and which will allow us to work towards the destination state architecture and experience, which is standardized. And this is the way Capital One typically rolls. We are huge on standardization. And our solution to that is what we are calling a data integration platform, which is essentially a seamless experience. It solves the challenges of inconsistent data pipelines, and it unifies that into one platform. It's still being built. This basically is all about a seamless experience, standardization. It's integrated with our data movement patterns on our data movement platform. It's got enterprise data. It will have enterprise data management and tooling, and it's going to be a standardized way to promote our new data to production in a similar way. And Databricks, we believe, is going to play a very critical role in our data processing in the future across all of these initiatives. And we do a lot of them across all of our processes and cards, such as acquisitions and customer management and fraud and what have you. All right, it brings us to the end of the presentation. We have plenty of time for questions. So essentially, we saw an 80% decrease in time and cost per job. And as we benchmark Databricks against other market and internal tools, we consistently see them performing very, very fast, 60 times faster than available systems. So massive performance gains, massive cost reductions, which is huge, which we monitor very closely. And this led essentially to a reevaluation of how we are running all of our compute options, and we're going to standardize on Databricks wherever possible. So there you go. That brings us to the end of our presentation. Happy to take questions.